Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is August the 23rd, 2020, and we are continuing our study on 666, the number 666 and what it means. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at 1 Kings 10:14 through 25. And so I wanted to establish that Solomon knew exactly what he was doing when he brought in 603 score and 6 talents of gold. He wanted to be associated with this number. You're going to see more examples of that as we go through as well. Besides that, he had of the merchantmen, we don't need that part. King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. Now I want you to understand. I'm trying to think of the chapter. Hold on a second. I think it was chapter 5. If it's not there, I'm just going to have to tell you. Yeah, let's just read through this real quick. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father, for Hiram was ever a lover of David. And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, Thou knowest how that David my father could not build an house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. So that's what I brought you here for, was for verse 4. Solomon had peace on every side. He knew he had peace on every side. However, Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold, 600 shekels of gold to each one target. That's the number 12. That's a government. 200 targets times 600, that's like 12,000. 12 is the number of the government, is number of government. So he has, in essence, he has associated his government and his protection as shields of gold. Let's continue. And he made 300 shields. Wait a minute. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. 9. Oh, what is 9? 9 is your I can't remember what 9 is, you guys. I'm sorry. It's like your inheritance, like your heirs would be associated with 9. I can't remember what it is beyond that. I'm sorry. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I can't remember what 9 is. We're going to have to skip that. So he had 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. Now I looked up this word for you because best is only found here. We'll do a quick search. Entire Bible. There's only one occurrence of best, and that's here in 1 Kings. But that's okay, because we have another example in Chronicles, which is the chronicle of this story. Hold on a moment. Where is it at? Oh, ivory throne in pure gold. So let's take a look at that in Chronicles. And it gives a different term. It says, Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with pure gold. I'm going to tell you, this word pure right here, this is the same gold that was used on the vessels in the temple. It's the same gold that overlaid the mercy seat. It's the same gold that overlaid the altar of incense. The only time it's not used as pure gold is when it's used as the word clean, except one instance when it's also used to describe the mitre that is put upon the head of Joseph, I think, or Jacob, in Zechariah chapter 3. So other than that, it's used as the word clean. I do have a couple of definitions. We can look at them. Give me just a moment here. Let's take a look at these. Don't need that. Oh, there was one other thing. We'll come back to this in just a moment. And thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold. Same word. 2 cubits. So that's the throne of God. Okay, I guess I didn't have that many examples because I need to explain to you why we're in Revelation 20 now. Because I got the idea, I got to thinking, because there wasn't any other example of that word. I was thinking to myself, surely there must be some example in the New Testament. And so I was thinking, okay, if this is the best gold, this has to be the same gold that is in Revelation 21. Let's read Revelation 21, verse 18. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. I think I have a couple examples in Revelation. Revelation 20. Oh, here's the throne of God, but we're going to come back to that because we want to look at the gold first. No, okay. So I just have the one example. But my point is that this gold is so fine and it's so pure that it's really clear. It's clear like glass. So in essence, by putting that pure gold over the top of his throne, he had an ivory throne. Even though it was covered with gold, it was still clear, and you could still see the ivory that was underneath. Which leads us to these other verses that I have here. Yahweh's throne. And I saw the dead and the small. I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And that shouldn't have been there. That's a different definition. Let's look at this one. And I saw here we go. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. So, God has a great white throne. Solomon has a great white throne. Because it's not pure gold. We're going to see pure gold in, let's see, hold on a moment. Hold on, I got mixed up here. So we're going to see pure gold here. Then we're going to see pure gold here. That's the common word for pure gold. This is different than the definition for this. We'll look at the definition real quick. Did I select the right word? Because I didn't look it up. I don't know. 5462. Yeah, just shut up. Then here, of pure gold. Pure, clean, fair, pure. And it is used as clean quite a bit in the Bible. Oh, there is another example where it's used besides clean. It's used to describe Yahushua's linens. It's used like that a couple of times. So let's go back. I just wanted to do the comparison there so that you could see that Solomon had his own little throne that he set before the people, and it was white, just as God's throne is white in the book of Revelation. Okay. The throne has 6 steps, and the top of the throne, we know that 6 is the number of man, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side, the stays at the hand, on either side on the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays. And 12 lions stood there, again a government, one on one side and one on the other upon the 6 steps, 6 being the number of man. There was not the like made in any kingdom. And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold. And all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. So not only his drinking vessels, but everyone in that town. And probably I heard someone say that it extended out further than the town. For some ways. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. For the king had now, and it goes on. Still, they haven't told us what the 666 is, mind you. So we're still reading, trying to figure out, well, what's going on there. So then they talk about, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in every 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. What else happens every 3 years? Well, I'm going to tell you. Hold on a moment. Tithes and offerings happens every 3 years. Let's do the comparison. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and of the firstlings of thy herd and of thy flock, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God. Where's the 3 years? I don't know where it is. We're not going to find it because I'm sure I got it somewhere else in here. And thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bringeth forth year by year. Thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God. Okay, it's got to be in here somewhere. Here we go. At the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shall lay it up within thy gates. So year by year, you lay it up, and at the end of 3 years, you bring it forth, all the tithe of thine increase for the same year, and thou shalt lay it up within thy gates. So you've laid it up within your gates, and then you bring it forth. Okay. At the end of 3 years, every 3 years. Let's see what else I've got in here. I don't know. These are the feasts of the Lord. This is a feast of the Lord. These are the feasts. No, tithe is not a feast. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, and a meat offering, a sacrifice, and a drink offering, everything upon his day. I think I might have put that in there because it says, I'm not sure. There was some sort of affiliation that I made between Solomon and a meat offering, and I can't remember what it is now. I can't remember. I'm sorry. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for a sin offering. Oh, okay. Hold on. I think I jumped ahead of myself here. Let's just read through it and see if we got 4 more. Let's just see what we come up with. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for a sin offering, so he shall do with this. And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. Okay. I've got offering in here. I think that's what I did wrong. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I mixed the I for offering with the tithe. I shouldn't have done that. It kind of threw me off. Let's go back and we'll continue. Okay, so every 3 years, just as the tithe, they would bring the gold, the silver, the ivory, the apes, and the peacocks to him. Just as the tithe. You bring it. That's why I had that in there. Because they had to bring it to the place. That's what I was stressing when I put the offering in there. Is that they brought it to the place of worship. That's where a designated spot where they brought it to. But I'm not going to go through it again because I forgot when I was reading through it. So you have the scriptures if you want to go look at them. I looked at all of them. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. So we're at the end here finally. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. Which is the same thing which we saw in the offerings. And there's a reason for that. Because this word present right here is not present, as you know from the previous video. This is the word for offering. Now there is a different word for present. And I think I have it here in the same. No, this is what he paid to Hiram. Let's look at this. I didn't look up present. I didn't look up gift. I may have. I just may not remember. Okay, so this is Solomon had borrowed money from Hiram and bought services from Hiram. And so it refers to Solomon when he repaid back Hiram. It says Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year. So the word gave here, he didn't really give it to him. He was paying him to give with great latitude of application, to add, apply, appoint, ascribe, assign, bestow. Okay, so he gave him his money, but then when it comes to Solomon, they're not giving him anything. No. They're making an offering. Listen, understand what an offering is. An offering is made to someone who you deem greater than yourself. An offering is made to someone who you deem greater than yourself. Let me think if I want to go into it. It's another long story about Hiram and Solomon. We'll just hold off on that. I'm going to leave it, for now, we're going to leave it at that. Understand that an offering is something that's given to someone that's great, that you deem greater. So in essence, this is kind of a forced worship right here. So that's why it's easy to fall off into that. Maybe it's forced worship. But you have Daniel 3 to show you that it's not forced worship. It's not. Everybody wants to be worshiped. It's just too broad. It's too broad to only have 2 examples of it in the Bible. It's just too broad of a definition. And we have an exact definition in Daniel 3. If you read through that, where the king, not himself, he has to herald, force the other people to worship or be put into the fiery furnace of affliction. And then you also have King Tyre. Let's go ahead and go to King Tyre. We're going to go there and take a look. I keep talking about it, so let's just do the thing. It's Tyrus. The word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel, there is no secret that can be hid from thee. With thine wisdom and with thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God. Now, it starts off, he's speaking to Tyrus. Of course, it's going to change up, and he's going to be speaking to Satan. And you can tell by the writing who he's speaking to. But therefore, thus saith the Lord God, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nation, and they shall draw their swords against thy beauty, against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Yet wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? But thou shalt be a man, and no God, in the hand of him that slayeth thee. That's good enough. See, it just comes right out and tells you here. But there's no mention of 666. It's not worship. It's not forced worship. That can't be it. But as I mentioned before, one thing that stands out when you read 1 Kings, we're going to get to it in a minute. Hold on a moment. I'm going back. Okay. Let me mark this so I don't have to keep doing that. Okay. One thing that does stand out is that they're bringing this to him to hear his wisdom. Now, let's use a little bit of common sense here now. There's no sin in advising somebody or giving a little bit of wisdom here and there. That's done all the time. Nobody is going to, 666 is not associated with you giving advice to a friend. There's none of that. There's none of that in Revelation 13. No. That is the man of sin. We know that this is some sinful act. That should go without saying. You should know that without me having to tell you that. That should be a common sense approach for you. That is not necessarily, no, it's not advice. That's not what it is. But that's okay. We know what wisdom is, and we have an example of Solomon giving wisdom as king to his constituents, and that's in 1 Kings chapter 3. Let's go take a look at it. Let's read the promise first. Let's first look at the promise. Here we go. We'll start from 3. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon the altar. In Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God said, ask what I shall give thee. Now what God appears to him Twice he does. And Solomon said, Thou hast showed unto thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go or how to come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. I'm reading this and I'm accentuating it. Accentuating it for a reason. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast thou asked riches for thyself, nor hast thou asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes, okay, we don't need that. So anyway, that's the promise. He asked for wisdom so that he could judge the people. And he gave him understanding and wisdom so that he could discern judgment. So the next scene we have here is him actually exercising that judgment. Okay. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And one woman said, O my lord, we'll come back. Well, I do want to point out, let me just go ahead and tell you now. Where it says they stood before him, that's not just a meaningless statement, okay? That stood before him. When you stand before him, you stand to judge or to advise. You're standing to counsel, or you're standing to or you're standing to be counseled or pronounce a verdict upon. Okay, it's not just you stood before a person. You can stand by a person and counsel them, but you stand before them for a judgment or to counsel them, to give them your intellect. That's when you stand before a person in the Bible. We'll look at that in a minute. Let's look at it now. No. I don't want to stop in the middle of the story, but yeah, that's why I wanted to wait at first. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to look at the story. Just keep in mind what I said, and then we'll go through the scriptures afterwards. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. And this woman child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight, and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I had rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then the king said, The one said, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no way slay it. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no way slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged. And they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. Let's look at the word stand real quick, and then we're going to move into another video. Let's look at the word stand. So, just remember that he was judging those people. This is the counsel that he gave. This is the wisdom that he provided. His wisdom was a judgment. It can also be counsel, but if you're standing in front of a person like that, then if you're standing in front of a judge, it's not really counsel unless you're given the counsel. Okay. Thou, even thou, art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight, whence thou art angry? Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. At that time the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord, to minister unto him, and to bless in his name unto this day. So you can come before the Lord to minister to him. Watch thee therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things which will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man under judgment. Again, he stood and measured the earth. Again, he's judging the earth. And he beheld and drove asunder the nations. Okay, we don't need all of that. Happy are thy men, and happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and hear thy wisdom. Then came we already did that. Okay, so here is an example of where they're standing by him. This is, I think it's Abraham. The point is that they weren't standing by him. They were standing before him. Here, and the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself down toward the ground. They weren't standing by him. They were standing before him. But they couldn't put the word before, because the word before means that they're either judging, or he's counseling or ministering to them. He's counseling them, or same thing, that he's providing a service to them. Okay? For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am, and whom I serve. But he stood by him, not before him to judge him. So Moses, we know that Moses judged the people, and his father is counseling him. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, what is this thing which thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning until evening? They're not standing beside Moses. They're standing before Moses and Moses is literally judging the people and their cases. Yet and still, it says he stood by them. Do you see the difference? I think, let's see if I have another one here. Oh, there's a couple more. We'll go through this, and then we're going to end this video out, and we'll start another one. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Hold on a moment. Oh, here we are. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. The Lord standeth to plead and standeth to judge the people. Well, that doesn't have before. So I did have good and evil in here somewhere. Okay, I guess I must have taken it out or it's somewhere else. We're going to stop here. We'll pick up in the third video. I did tell you I was going into detail into this one to show you everything. So if you have any questions, leave them below. Bye.